Howdy gamers, let's talk about the runes for Gragas jungle. I would cover Gragas support, but I don't think Gragas support is in a good spot. Like if you're really interested, you would run something effectively like this, and then you'd be playing for your item spike on your completed support item, lucidity boots, Zeeks, etc. But a lot of things have just gone bad for Gragas support. You lost the CDR on the support item. Your scaling isn't as fast as supports just get less levels now. He doesn't match a lot of things. He's been nerfed like because of the jungle role as well. And simply put, like if you get behind on him, you're going to be behind basically forever. So Gragas support, like it's playable, but he's like B minus tier at best. With Gragas jungle though, he's in a pretty okay spot, and he has two modes, which is nice. Um, the two modes being Predator and Dark Harvest. Both variations you'd be building ability power. So starting off with Dark Harvest, it's the less popular version, and with Dark Harvest, damaging a champion below 50% health deals bonus adaptive damage and harvest their souls, which permanently increases Dark Harvest damage by 5. Dark Harvest damage is also based on your level and then bonus ability power, and it's only on a 45-second cooldown, so effectively any time you'd be taking a fight, Dark Harvest is probably up. Its cooldown is also unique to the champion that you're using it on versus something like Electrocute. If you spend Electrocute on one champion, then it's just on cooldown for 20 seconds. But with Dark Harvest, it makes more sense in a 2v2, 3v3, or even 5v5 situation, since you could be proccing it on all champions. Since Gragas' main abilities and his barrel and his ult are both AoE, it's really easy to do that. And it's a pretty obvious trade-off between Dark Harvest and Predator in the jungle. With Dark Harvest, you're basically content with full clearing and counter ganking. Predator is more about forcing ganks, and you're going to have more consistency with Dark Harvest, pretty similar to champions like Cho'Gath and Karthus in the jungle, where you're effectively just full clearing, and once you exit the jungle with like your jungle item plus Swordpin boots, then you're really just another like AP threat for the enemy to deal with. And if they haven't beaten you by 12 minutes, then you're in a pretty substantial power spike at that stage. So with that, your secondary rune choices are either Sudden Impact and Cheap Shot. Cheap Shot is really good for Gragas as you have multiple ways to proc it. With Cheap Shot, damaging champions with impaired movement or actions deals bonus true damage based on your level, and then this is only on a 4-second cooldown. With Sudden Impact, you could have more burst with it, and if you're running Dark Harvest, you can make a better argument for Sudden Impact, as with Sudden Impact, whenever you use a dash, then you're going to gain 7 lethality and 6 magic penetration for 5 seconds, and then this is only on a 4-second cooldown. So effectively every time you use your body slam, Sudden Impact is going to be up as well. I'm not entirely sure of like which one would be the best, but Cheap Shot's going to be generally more useful, as even if you're not spinning your body slam, then you're still getting more damage like for what you're doing. And in a lot of your early counter ganks, if you're running Dark Harvest, you're probably just placing your barrel or using your ult to start things off, and because your body slam is effectively an all-in in a lot of stages. So you do have to take that trade-off. If you want more neutral power, Cheap Shot's probably your better option, but if you want more all-in potential, then Sudden Impact is the way to go. So then the argument becomes like, are you all-inning or are you having more neutral power? I would probably go with Cheap Shot most of the time. Unless the enemy team comp are champions that Gragas' job within the team would be to dive and one-shot those champions, sure, go Sudden Impact. It'd be completely fine. But generally, I would go with Cheap Shot. For the third rune choice, all of these are basically determining how you get your ability power from them, as they all eventually give you so much ability power. With Zombie Ward, it's going to give you ability power for killing wards. With Ghost Foro, it's going to give you ability power for placing wards. And with Eyeball Collection, it's going to give you ability power for getting kills or assist. So really, Gragas could do any of these, as with Predator, you would probably want Zombie Ward, as a lot of what you would be doing is moving into lanes and then sweeping them as you go. Even if the gank isn't successful, then getting a ward kill is still going to give you something. You get the gold for the ward, the experience, and then you also get ability power on top of that. If you're playing with Dark Harvest and then you're playing to counter gank, then Ghost Boro is probably your better option, as a lot of what you're doing is moving around your own camps and then warding for your laners, and then going back to your camps afterwards. So you'd be able to build up Ghost Boro pretty quickly. With Ghost Boro, whenever your wards expire, they leave behind a Ghost Boro which grants vision for 60 seconds. Nearby enemy champions scare away the Ghost Poro, and then you gain bonus ability power every time a Ghost Poro is placed. So every time your ward expires, that's when you get the extra ability power. So if the enemy is sweeping them, then it is harder to build this up, and then it also makes it kind of awkward if you're transitioning. If you're swapping your trinket to the sweeper at an earlier stage of the game, then Ghost Poro just is impossible to stack up as you're not placing any wards. With eyeball collection, you just earn it through getting kills or assists. There's really not much to it, so it's not so bad with Dark Harvest because a lot of what you're doing is just powering up for the mid game and then casting your abilities on the enemy with just simply more power behind them. So either, like, any of these three options is fine. If you want a default one, I suppose eyeball collection, as you just get it with the kills or an assist, and you don't have the mini game of either clearing wards or placing them. But at higher MMRs, Zombie Ward and Ghost Poro is just more consistent. For the 4th rune, all of these are based on Bounty Hunter stacks. The Bounty Hunter stacks are for each unique takedown on a specific champion. So you kill the top laner, that's one. You kill the jungler, it's one, etc. With Relentless Hunter, it offers you bonus healing. Gragas doesn't really need that, as it's mostly just about how much burst damage you deal. Ingenious Hunter reduces your active item cooldown reduction, so this would be for either your Predator boots or for something like Zanya's. So if you're running Predator, you definitely want Ingenious Hunter, as it makes it so that you can just gank more often, as Predator will be up more often, and if Predator's up more often, you have like that unfair movement speed to actually pull off a gank that you otherwise wouldn't be able to, or would have less of a likelihood chance to. With Relentless Hunter, you gain out of combat movement speed, and if you're running Dark Harvest, I think Relentless Hunter is your best bet. Ultimate Hunter might sound good, as Gragas is pretty reliant on his ult, but it's not so required, as his ult's already on a low enough cooldown, and you have a lot of ways to itemize into cooldown reduction early. So getting cooldown reduction from your items is a lot less, is the better way to get reduction on the ult cooldown than it would be to get through the rune. Because with Relentless Hunter, it gives you out of combat movement speed, and this basically helps you whenever the enemy jungler is on the opposite side of the map, and then they gank that opposite side of the map, and then that lets you go into their jungle faster, take their camps faster, and then move around the map just faster. So having the more movement speed towards the camp and then away from the camp, and then after your reset back onto the map, you just save a whole lot of time, and that's really what you're trying to get your best value out of in the early game if you're running Dark Harvest, is just time efficiency. For the secondary runes, if you're running Dark Harvest, Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight's completely fine, as with Magical Footwear you're going to be offsetting the cost of boots, so you're saving 300 gold, and you're basically telling the enemy jungler, hey, again, like, come 13 minutes, I'm going to have completed jungle item and sword pin boots, and any kills or assist on top of that is just extra ability power too. So it really puts the enemy jungler on a timer, and even if they get one kill in lane, you're still doing fine, as you've saved 300 gold with the Magical Footwear. With Cosmic Insight, you get 5% cooldown reduction on your abilities, summoner spells, and items. This one's going to be useful even if you're running Predator. With Cosmic Insight, it's nice to have, as Gragas is just so reliant on his cooldowns for farming the jungle, and once you've got past like level 7 or so, that's when you can really start power farming. And with that, it helps you at the start of the game, and then it continues to help you throughout all stages of the game, as you're going to be so gated by your cooldowns. And with just the 5% level 1, the cooldown reduction on your abilities is significant enough to run over other options. For the adaptive runes, it's going to be attack speed, ability power, and then armor. I'm not sure if Gragas can clear the jungle with magic resist if you're into an AP matchup. I would assume that he could. You would just have to kite them longer, but generally armor is going to give you more value. And then the ability power, as it's going to give your abilities more damage from the get-go. And then attack speed, as whenever you're on cooldown, you still have your auto attacks to deal damage to the camps, and early that's going to be kind of your primary source of your damage to the camps. So having more attacks more often is going to equate to more damage in the jungle. So these would be the default runes I'd recommend for Gragas jungle. And then if you're looking to gank, then you would swap to Predator, and then you would swap Relentless Hunter with Ingenious Hunter, and then you'd swap Magical Footwear with Perfect Timing. Perfect Timing would give you the faster itemization into Zanya's, and it would also have good synergy with Ingenious Hunter, as your Zanyus would be on a lower cooldown. And not much really changes from there. I suppose Sudden Impact might give you better value, since with ganks you'd probably be leading with your Body Slam if you were running Predator, and then yeah, it would just probably have the higher synergy with it. So these are the runes I'd recommend for Gragas jungle. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I answer literally all of them. If this video helped you, leaving a like on the video helps me. And if you're interested in watching me play League of Legends or talk about it some more, check out my Twitch. It's twitch.tv/SawyerNelson. A few variations you might be interested before I actually end the video would be Presence of Mind plus Coup de Grace. With Coup de Grace, it's okay, as you're going to get more damage to targets who are low. You'd probably want to be running this with Dark Harvest. This would be like your greediest option possible. The thing is that even though you do get this damage increase, you don't need it to kill targets. You already have enough damage otherwise. And then the extra mana gain from Presence of Mind actually doesn't equate to a lot for Gragas, as you get enough mana from the jungle item, and it's really, really, really hard to run out of mana. I suppose it would help you in like an intense 1v9 situation in which you would have the extra mana to not only clear your full jungle, but then also side lane for some reason. That would be the one use case for that. Pretty similar to other AP junglers or like assassin champions, you could run Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm. This would also give you better scaling if you were running the Dark Harvest page, as it just gives you access to more ability power that you otherwise couldn't get to at certain timings in the game. So if you're the only source of ability power damage on your team, this is completely fine, as the extra ability power offered from these two runes plus Sorkpin Boots plus Oblivion Orb is going to put you at such a dominant position really, really early in the game. And then you continue to scale with that the more levels you get, and then the longer the game goes with Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm. So those are some options to consider. In the Resolve tree, there'd be nothing for you. So yeah, that's it. Gragas. He died as a support, but as a jungler, he's kind of sleeper coming into Season 10. So check him out. Or don't. I don't give a shit, man. Bye-bye.